So, Misha, where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up as a gypsy. We lived in 7 big wagons with a couple of other families. I had 7 brothers and 5 sisters. We traveled from town to town selling people things. My father traded horses and my mother told fortunes.
So, how did you end up in Warsaw? Where's the rest of your family?
Well, one night I was riding my favorite horse, a speckled mare named Greta, when we saw a big jackboot plane flying over us. We thought it was trying to drop bombs on us, so we scattered, 7 wagons in 7 directions. I got split up from the rest of my family except for Greta, which was the only one who came with me. Greta and I searched for days but could not find the rest of the family. One night we were camped out in a grove of trees with some Polish farmers who hated the gypsies, even more than the jackboots, hated the Jews, came and tied us up. For a long time Greta and I were slaves for the farmers. They fed us nothing more than turnips and pig's milk. Then, one night, Greta broke out of her stall and ran away. The next day I ran away too. I searched and searched for Greta all over Poland, but I never found her. Then, I came upon the city of Warsaw, and we learned to steal food to keep from starving.
So, that's how you survived for so long. How did you learn to steal?
I learned to steal from a boy named Yuri, who took me under his wing when I first arrived in Warsaw. We lived together with another group of boys who stole too.
So, how did you come to know the Milgrams?
Well, one day I found myself in their garden. I was stealing some tomatoes, when I noticed Janina watching me. We then became friends, and I used to leave her things on the steps of her house. Then, when everyone was sent to the ghetto, they let me sleep with them sometimes.
What was it like to live in the ghetto?
It was much more difficult than before. Food became much harder to steal, especially because there was less of it.
I bet. So, you were very close to the Milgrams?
Oh yeah, I spent a lot of time with them. Mr. Milgram even started calling me a part of the family, and I was allowed to call Janina my sister.
So, how did you guys survive through the life in the ghetto? Many families died.
Well, when our side of the wall ran out of food, I started looking for the way to get to the other side, to see if there was any food over there. Then, one day I found a hole in the wall. It was just big enough for me to fit through.
So, is that how you started your little smuggling project?
Well, I wouldn't really call it small, but yeah, that's when I started sneaking out at night to go to the other side and steal food. I would just bring a bag with me, and when it was full, I would go back to my hole. First, I would push the bag through, then I would squeeze through.
Wow, that sounds like a pretty big project. Did you ever get caught?
No, but I got pretty close to being caught a couple of times, but never all the way.
So, how did you know that the trains would come to take everyone away?
Well, one night I was on the other side when I saw my old friend Yuri. We hadn't seen him in a very long time. He grabbed me and shook me. He told me to run, to leave everyone and run.
So, what did you do?
I canceled my trip and ran back to the hole. I went back and tried to get everyone to leave and run, and like Yuri had said to.
And what did they say?
They didn't take me seriously and said that the Nazis couldn't do anything worse to them.
So you just went on with your lives?
Yeah, I guess so. That is when the trains really did start to show up.
So you were right then. What did you do?
Nothing really. I continued with my smuggling. And then one night, Janina came with me. I wouldn't let her come through with me, though. So she just went on her own. But she was always very close to me, like a shadow.
So you and Janina smuggled. What did she think when she saw the trains for real?
She was hypnotized. She thought that they were wonderful and wanted nothing more than to go and get on them.
What did people think when the jackboots started taking people away?
Their minds were too clouded with hope and false pretenses. They thought the Jews were being sent away to live from the rest of civilization, and they didn't see how that could be bad.
So that's what the Milgrams thought as well.
Kind of. Janina thought that getting on the train was the ultimate answer, but Mr. Milgram disagreed. I think that he thought the trains would take people somewhere that wasn't safe. I think that's why he told me to take Janina and run.
What did you mean when he said to run?
Well, one night, when I was getting up to go to the other side, he was still up. He grabbed me and told me to go the other side and not come back. He said to just get out of the city.
So, is that what you did?
Sort of. I went to the other side and found Janina. I told her that we had to leave. She didn't believe me and wouldn't come. I couldn't tell her why we had to run, though, because I knew that she would want to go back for the rest of the family.
Well, did you get her to go?
No, she wouldn't believe me.
So what did you do?
I continued smuggling and kept trying to get Janina to run, but she wouldn't come.
Then how did you get her to leave?
I didn't do anything.
What?
One night, when we were out, we had been trying to get back to our side. We discovered that our hole was no longer there.
What do you mean it was no longer there?
It wasn't there. I think the jackboots must have sealed it up.
What did you do then?
We snuck along the wall, trying to find another hole, but we never did.
How'd you get across?
We ran along until we found the only hole we could think of, the gate. Normally, the gate is guarded very well, But that night was one of the nights where they were taking people to the trains. So we snuck backward along the crowd until we could break out and run home.
What did you do when you got home?
When we got home, we burst into our room, hoping to impress the others by our large load. But when we got to the house, nobody was home.
What happened next?
We both knew immediately where everyone had gone, to the trains. Janina was hysterical. I tried to calm her down, but she only threw a bigger fit. She ran out of the house and down the street towards the trains. When we got there, Janina raced right into the crowd to try to find her father and her uncle.
What did you do? Did you follow her?
Yes, I felt that she was my responsibility, so I ran after her. She was going so fast that all I could see was her coattails as she weaved through people's legs. Then I lost her. I became panicked. I couldn't find her anywhere. Then, that's when I heard it. It was Janina, and she was screaming. I looked toward the voice, in just enough time to see a big jackboot pick up Janina and throw her in a cart on the train. I tried to run after her, but I felt a huge hand clasp around my collar and lift me up. I couldn't see who was holding me, though. The hand carried me out of the crowd and threw me into a ditch. I rolled over as soon as I hit the ground and looked up. It was Yuri. But he was wearing a jackboot uniform and had a gun pointed at my head.
Wait, he had a gun? What was he doing?
I don't know, but he looked down at me and he aimed at my head. Then he pulled the trigger.
What?
Yeah, but I think he must have missed, obviously. When I woke up, it was morning, and the trains were gone. I felt like such a failure. I desperately wanted to get Janina back, so I followed the tracks. I walked along the tracks for weeks, sleeping in bushes and drinking from streams and puddles, until one day I awoke to an old man poking me with his foot. He asked me if I was a Jew.
What'd you say?
I said yes. That was the new identity that I had taken on. Then he took me back to his farm. He tied me to a post in his barn and held me there for several days. Then, one day, he came out with his wife and told me that all Jews had to work on farms until the war was over.
What did you say?
I didn't say anything. I just worked with the old man and his animals. Then, one day, he came and told me that I could leave. And I did. It had been 3 years.
Wow, 3 years? What'd you do next?
I followed the train tracks. I did this for years until I came back upon the city of Warsaw. From then on, I started stealing again, and selling my things. I pulled around a big cart and traveled from one city to the other, but I never did find a Janina again.
Okay then. Thanks for coming on today, Misha. We loved every second of your story. Everyone, Misha Milgrom!